Hey everyone, I just wanted to show off a little bit of my game Sir Fallen because tomorrow, or today, technically Friday, the new Christmas update comes out. So there's going to be every Friday of December, there will be a new Christmas challenge. It's going to be one long story, so every week we'll continue the story from the previous week, and there'll be like exclusive levels and exclusive unlockables. And someone had asked, I had posted like a little teaser of one of the rooms, and someone had asked what it would be like to play that and in relation to like my previous designs. And so here is an example of the main game. And the way I was designing levels, because I changed up the design a lot for this Christmas update. So the way that I was designing the original levels is I was just kind of like building the outline of what I wanted it to look like castle wise. So like the main game takes place in a castle. And so I would build the castle infrastructure, and then from there I would design within the limitations of the castle, like rooms or like puzzles or problems as I call them. So I can show you an example of a section of the main level. If you make it through the underground, you'll eventually make it to this section, which is the castle section. And from here, you can see that there's a few little technical jumps that you have to do to eventually make it up to this part right here. So that whole sequence of jumps that I just did, I would consider that to be one problem. You make it to here and you feel pretty good. You feel like you've made it to like the next checkpoints. Technically no checkpoint yet. There's another checkpoint after the next problem, which is significantly harder, which is these sequence of jumps where if you fall all the way back down to the beginning of the game. So you're big risk when you're taking that. But once you get to this checkpoint, you're pretty safe for a long time, unless you fall down this hole. Now, scattered throughout my game, I also try to create little extra places that you can go. So originally the way I did this is I would go over to this wall and come over here and then jump around this and then through that hole. But what you can do instead is you can actually, there's a single pixel right between these spikes that you can hit your head on, and you can bypass that, and then you can actually get up into this room, which then you use that same single pixel to make it through, and you actually bypass the entire outside section. With my new Christmas level, I instead took an idea from Celeste. I had watched a talk on Celeste level design, and in Celeste level design, they were building the problems as rooms, because if you've played Celeste, you know that when you enter into a new room, when you can die as many times as you want in that room, and you'll just reset that room. You won't go backwards into the game. Unlike my game where it's just one big room, there's risk of going all the way backwards. And so I wanted to try to replicate that in a way while still keeping to the spirit of Sir Fallen and the ability to risk everything. And so this is one of the rooms that I teased earlier on this week. And so I wanted to show it because you can see that this whole level is a lot more compartmentalized. There's these sections of rooms with little tiny connecting hallways. And there's also this corridor that tracks through the entire level. And at any point when you're passing through that corridor, you have this fear and risk of falling down it. Now, passing over the corridor, the puzzle itself is not actually that dangerous. It's just the risk of falling makes it feel much more dangerous than it actually is. So I'll go ahead and show what the room that I had built, which I also borrowed a little mechanic from Celeste that if you've played, you'll recognize it. So this is the room that I did. You'll see it feels a lot different. The puzzle feels more on its own rather than interconnected. I used oops, it's also a lot harder. There's these ice blocks that speed up your movement a lot, and they are a little bit of a challenge. So it's making my movement, my vertical or my horizontal movement, much more chaotic. There we go, finally. So I'm gonna knock this block down. You can get around it, but I find it a little easier to just knock it down. Oh no! I was hoping I would not do that. All right, that jumps a little easier once you knock that block down. And then this should be a lot easier now. There we go. All right, so that's that room. So it feels way more on its own. There's not really a skip that you can skip sections in this one. You can just skip within the section. So to show you kind of an example, now the skips I'm not too good at, but if you wanted to, you can actually, rather than going that top route, you can do a little spike landing here. Just gonna take me a second to do. Should have pre-recorded this and just talked over it. I might do that. There we go. So you can do that. And then from there, you can actually make that jump from here. So you do the spike landing, which is a little bit faster. And then from here, you can just make that. And then it is technically possible, if you get good horizontal speed, to make it from here all the way to the edge of the ice, although that's really hard. But easier than that, you can actually go within that spike. There we go. So you can make that, and then you can also do this. And do that. If you're fast enough, you can make that and make it a lot easier. So it's just a few ways that, like, the level design, it might not be super obvious on the way that it's changed, but I think it should be interesting. The level shouldn't play like anything else in the main game, so it should feel a little bit different, which is good because it's the only ice and winter themed levels that I'm going to be having in the game is these Christmas ones, at least for now. So thanks so much and see ya.